Hello everybody, my name is Dirk. I was born on March 22nd, 1974 at 11:13 a.m. in Wilrijk, Belgium. So I'm a reflector with a 4:6 profile on the cross of the vessel of love. We are standing here at the edge of the Amazon rainforest in the northeast of Ecuador, where I've been living and working for about a year and a half now. The opportunity to share what human design means to me sounded really appealing. So it took me a while to let it sink in, talk it over, and let my ally the moon bring its inspiration. But now that the ball got rolling, it's a great pleasure to be in this experience with you. Human design is in my life for about 5 years now, and slowly but surely I'm coming to understand how deeply it is related to navigation. It is probably the most sophisticated navigational tool humanity has ever come across. It allows us to navigate neutrino oceans, letting our uniqueness shine through in every decision that shapes our path, and it allows us to love ourselves for who we are and to understand how our form operates on that journey. But human design makes it clear that life is a duality, and in that sense full of contrast. So in order to let you know how I came across the knowledge and what it means to me, I invite you for a little trip on one of humanity's oldest navigational tools. I would like you to join me in the canoe to go down the Cuyabeno River deep into the Ecuadorian rainforest. Navigation has always been quite an arduous thing, also here in the Amazon. So as human design reminds us well, let the driver do her thing, and let's be good passengers, enjoy the movie and the beauty of form, and please allow me in the meanwhile to share with you how human design entered into my life and how it all made sense from the beginning.
My journey leading to human design started years ago when studying social anthropology. I had no clue back then that I am a reflector, but I started developing a strong interest in conditioning through a socio-cultural understanding of it. As a reflector, I have always had a very deep feeling of belonging to something far bigger than myself. And back then, I thought the studying of tribes and our socio-cultural roots could shed some light on that. Social anthropology was my first introduction to conditioning and actually my doorway to design. And it was the studying of social anthropology and seeing where it stands as an academic science that made it so clear to me that it had evolved to a point where human design as a science of differentiation becomes a very obvious and necessary step. I always felt we are in need of a synthesis of the scientific and the mystical, and I see now, through design, that it is this combination that allows deep scientific understandings about the uniqueness of who we are to become practical on an individual level in our daily lives so we can benefit from them. My personal journey into the depths of conditioning went a step further when I started to see that conditioning was something that had layers far deeper than the social-cultural aspects of it. I discovered it was actually something with a life of its own, that it had energy and a grip over me with a power I wasn't even aware of. Actually, I realized it had always been the source of so many of my decisions, and it made me see how much my mind rules my life. It was in this period that I was introduced to human design and had my first reading. I was exhilarated, impressed, surprised. A whole new world just opened up to me. The intuition I had had as an anthropologist, that the scientific and the mystical had to join forces, was finally introduced to me. I discovered I'm a reflector, that I have no fixed definition, but through my alignment with the movement of the moon, Each month, I have the opportunity to discover what it really feels like to be me in very different aspects of my form. I never did anthropological academic fieldwork, but all of a sudden I discovered that in a way I'm a born anthropologist and that my fieldwork is the life I'm living. A reflector is born for nurturing at so many layers of his being that I am still aligning myself with and coming to integrate. Human design brought me a frame of looking at life and discovering myself in my relations with others and life itself that is a doorway to surprise and joy for me. And yes, I am going through moments that are very revealing and then at times others that I have no clue how to relate to the knowledge and maybe even wished it was never there. But that, I guess, is just part of the process of integrating it, experimenting with my type and strategy, and living it out.
I hope you enjoyed the journey to this wonderful place and all the beauties of form that we saw on our way here. Now, what does human design mean to me? Because of all types, we reflectors have to figure it out with little bits and pieces of information and are finally left with an awkward strategy of waiting for the moon moving through the program, connecting the hanging gates of our design. One of the most interesting things I ever heard about reflectors was that the movement of the moon through my design actually represents a learning program, an awareness cycle. There is a story in each connection following the next that reveals so much of who I am and what my life is about. And it was only when I read the whole story and saw the interrelations from one electromagnetic of the moon with the next that I started to understand and accept why I'm supposed to go through an entire cycle before I can really come to grips with any important decision in my life, and how an intimate relation with the moon can shed so much light on the aspects of who I am. I personally have the feeling that being a reflector is an intense but surprising process. Because the moon says so many things that resonate to me. It feels like a guiding force that helps me to keep in place and gives me a sense of being grounded. And there is obviously the influence felt of the other planets bringing their flavor, which is something I feel invites me for further investigation in the program. Human design means so much to me. It changes my relation with myself and others and gives me very practical insights about the conditioning field I'm living in and how to relate to it. There is no doubt I consider it the most amazing knowledge around, and I know I'm still deep into trial and error living out my design. But I start to find pleasure in the bleeps of surrender to my uniqueness. For me, there are moments of personal anthropological integration that bring me in touch with the beauty and excitement of what it is for me to be in this life. It's a knowledge that brings love, joy, strength, and sometimes tears of surrender into my existence.
There was a time I felt I could be any tree in the forest, but now I start feeling more and more grounded like this sable. This tree alone, standing out in a community of trees, and one day I want to meet the harpy eagle residing in its top, picking the monkey out of the forest.